What are you hearing, Jake, on the congressional side of things about Donald Trump's aims here and the discomfort that's being caused? I'll put up his approval rating on the economy, according to a new CNN poll. 56%. A majority of the public disapproves of his handling of the economy so far. By the way, that's worse than at any point during his first term in office. That's a surprising number, Jake.
Yeah, listen, there's not much criticism. I think people don't know what he's doing. I don't have to think. I mean, most people say they don't know what he's doing. Speaker Johnson has been defending him, saying that we are effectively, has said we're in a transition period. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, keeps saying, you know my view on tariffs, which is he's not a fan of this, but Trump is trying to, reorganize the global order, and we should be patient is effectively his message. But I will tell you, the market goes down, continues to go down like it's going down now. And I'm not talking about it might be up at this moment. But if it continues a downward trajectory, members of Congress are going to be nervous because people, as I think you noted, Katie, people are not going to be happy if their 401ks or portfolios are going down and they're looking to retire. I think that was in the clip that you showed at the top. The patience to reorganize the global trade order is just going to wane significantly to the extent it exists now. I don't even really know. And on top of that, just with all the chaos with government funding and the tax bill and everything that's going on Capitol Hill, there's just not going to be an appetite for a large-scale trade war. And I think that will start to rear its head in a couple weeks.
This is on top of, Jake, what could be cuts in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. I mean, it's not just 401ks. We have to remember that not everybody in this country has a 401k or even participates in the stock market. But there are a whole lot of folks that rely on those social services. Everybody is paying into Social Security.
Right. And Republicans say on repeat that they're not going to cut people's benefits. We'll see how they define benefits as we get farther down the road on their tax bill. They are looking, to be clear, they are looking for hundreds of billions of dollars of savings, up to $880 billion in savings from programs under the Energy and Commerce Committee's jurisdiction, which includes healthcare programs like Medicaid. So we are not only looking at a reshuffling or a reimagining of the global trade order, we are also looking at a restructuring of sorts of the social safety net. And all of those things combined, and layer on top of that, a president who cannot run for re-election is more impervious to pressure than he has ever been in the past. Yeah. And you're talking about an interesting situation for congressional Republicans, many of whom will be on the ballot in 2026.
I wonder if this is too cynical of a view of it, but John, I'll ask you this. Could this tariff show where Donald Trump is claiming that the tax will be on foreign companies, foreign nations? That's not true. The tax ends up getting passed on to the consumers where the product is coming. That's consumers here. But if he's going to go out there and claim, again wrongly, that we're taxing all these companies, we're making a ton of money from these foreign nations, we're rebalancing things, we can afford to give the wealthy a big tax cut, a $4.5 trillion tax cut. Don't worry about the deficit. We're going to pay it off in another way.
Look, Bernie Sanders is out traveling across the country holding rallies and events where he's talking about exactly this. And the biggest problem that Sanders has had so far is how many people are showing up. They're having to have overflow rooms, and he's having to speak outside because there is a lot of agitation across America on these issues. And I'll note, for what it's worth, that Sanders is going to Republican-held congressional districts. He's not going to, places where there's, big bases of support for Democrats necessarily. And so I think what I would tell you is that when we talk about these issues, tend to focus on them in precise ways. And we'll talk about a tariff. We'll talk about inflation. We'll talk about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the concerns about all of that, about all the chaotic developments as regards the federal government. people don't see it that way. I think that folks out across America simply go to a question of, am I feeling good about where the economy's headed? Where am I feeling that the people who are in charge in Washington know what they're doing? And as has just been, highlighted by this conversation we're having right here, they don't. There is clear, changing of course on a regular basis. There is clear division within political groupings, Republicans in Congress not sure what the White House is doing, et cetera. And what that all adds up to is that 56% disapproval rating that you just saw in the poll. That's not going to go away as a trade war that we now mostly see as involving Canada and Mexico extends into a global trade war. I'll remind people that today the European Union was talking about retaliatory tariffs. Canada was talking about them. Other countries, UK, Australia, Japan, Korea, all trying to figure out how to deal with this. And of course, China, the big player. This doesn't stop. This doesn't end tomorrow. And so as a result, the one thing I would say is I think it's an incredible economic chaos, and that leads to a political challenge, I think, for the Trump administration.